Good evening, good evening, good evening. I want to welcome all of you to our CodeHouse Conversations. If you're in cohort 2, let me hear you represent. Woo! Cohort 3? Woo! Cohort 4? What about cohort 5? Yeah, I figured that would happen. So let me let you know a little bit about CodeHouse Conversations. This was something started years and years ago. In fact, on this date in 2021, we had a CodeHouse conversation with the CEO of YouTube. And so it's interesting, it actually came up on my Facebook that 4 years ago we had CodeHouse Conversations, and here we are again. The purpose of this is really to expose you to some of the major leaders in the field of tech, right? So you have a lot of mentors, you come across a lot of individuals with startups and other companies, but these individuals are the cream of the crop of the cream of the crop. They are at the top. And so we want you to have the opportunity to engage with them, to ask questions, and to really get some insights on how you can go from mid-level to that CEO status, right? Because all of us have that ability. So without further ado, want to go ahead and get started. And I want to introduce this guy who you already know. Of course, welcome to all of our scholars from Howard and NCAT that are watching on YouTube. We wish you were here, and maybe we can make it out sometime to have a conversation with you. But let's welcome our president and CEO and founder, Mr. Ernest Holmes of CodeHouse. And also, I want to introduce to you our speaker for this evening who's participating. He's my 100 brother in the 100 Black Men of Atlanta. Love him to death. Mr. Micheal Benz, who is the head of legal and patents for Meta. What's up?
Good to be here, brother. Appreciate that introduction, Dr. Kenley. I'll also mention, if he didn't say it before, this is our newly elected executive director of CodeHouse. Y'all can clap it up for Dr. Kenley. We're super excited about that. And I'll start off by saying, CodeHouse Conversations started with Susan Wojcicki's team back in 2021 when I was actually teaching at Morehouse. She was just so inspired by the work we were doing at CodeHouse and wanted to connect directly with the students. So we made magic happen with Madison's branding, Imani on the back end, live streaming it all, and had that conversation with her would eventually lead to a $1 million investment by Google for CodeHouse, which was amazing. And Dr. Kenley has had this vision to bringing it back, reached out to Mr. Benz right here, and he so graciously decided to be our second guest speaker. So appreciate you so much for being here.
Humble to be here, happy to do it. It's an honor, honestly. I want to say, first and foremost, CodeHouse is incredible. Having an opportunity in a space like this to be able to not only commune with folks like yourselves who are like-minded in the space, but also to have an honest conversation about what it's like to get into it. And for me, my first thing I'll just say before we get started is each and every one of you are better than me. And in terms of where you will be in your careers, I look forward to watching on LinkedIn, TikTok, Forbes magazine, whatever it might be, to see each and every one of you on the cover, because you're already investing in yourself. And I didn't have the opportunity to really meet as many people. You'll hear a lot of my journey was luck, and we're trying to demystify that. And CodeHouse specifically, huge fan, because it's not luck anymore. You have the resources at your disposal to be able to learn from people and to take this trajectory wherever you want it to be.
Appreciate that so much.
Of course.
It's definitely a special room that we have right here, right? So just to repeat, you're the head of patents and trade secrets. You lead the global strategy for IP, including emerging technologies, AR, VR, the metaverse, AI, which is a big topic right now.
For sure.
Let's walk through your journey and how you got to where you are to this very day.
Yeah, so I was born in Jamaica, West Indies, so please keep Jamaica in your thoughts. Certainly there's a lot to go from there. My journey is not unlike what we're seeing right now with Melissa. It was Hurricane Gilbert back in the late 80s. Yes, I was born in the 1900s. That actually tore the roof off of my childhood home. It was a 2-bedroom, 1-bath. One of the rooms was destroyed. And thankfully for me, I had just visited my aunt, so I had a visitor's visa and was already in New York visiting her. And so when it was all kind of went down, my dad was like, well, my sister will let you come back. So me and my little sister left Jamaica and went to New York, where I grew up. So even everything that we're dealing with now as a country with respect to ICE and all that, I was one of those kids. I was a overstay. My visitor's visa expired. I stayed in the United States, was able to go through school. And honestly, it was for a guidance counselor who recognized that my hard work through high school. I tried to stay under the radar, right? I didn't want anybody to get me and deport me. He said, look, you're too smart. Where's your college applications? And he then called up a couple schools after he heard about my immigration situation. And I'm proud to say, sitting in this room, that there were 2 schools who were willing to not only accept me as an international student, but give me a full scholarship. The first was Morehouse. And the second, which I ended up taking, was Morgan State University. Now before y'all boo me, I love Morgan State University. I would have gone to Morehouse because I respect everything the school stands for. But being, at the time, a single-parent household, I had a little sister, I needed to be able to get back to New York. And that Chinatown bus is only $15, and I couldn't afford a flight back and forth. We just didn't have the bread, so I had to make a decision on that. But I'm telling you, like, as a young kid, I went through it. You know, like many of you come from similar backgrounds. There was one point in my life I had to make a decision as to whether or not, after having not eaten for several days, whether I was, gonna move product. There was a D-boy in the neighborhood. I think we can all maybe remember or seen a movie or even lived the experience. He had a car that nobody else had. It was a red Lexus drop top, and they didn't even make them. He got it custom done. And he was like, little homie, if you want to eat, there's one way to eat. But thankfully I didn't take that path. I think it's important for us also in this room to express to the younger generation there are other paths. Just to make that story full circle, I went back to Yonkers as a part of a nonprofit that I support, and I saw that same car, but it didn't look as nice because now it's like 35 years old. The tan top was all dirty. Turns out he got locked up, and the mother of his kid was driving the car, and it was in rough shape. So it doesn't end well. It may look glamorous at the moment, but as I stepped out of my Mercedes, it was important to understand that, look, there's a path to that.
Sure.
That can be done legally, correctly, and certainly you guys are doing that hard work.
So you made a decision to go to Morgan State,
Yep.
which we love all of our HBCUs, of course.
For
right?
sure, 100%.
What did you major in? What was your experience like at Morgan State?
So I'm Jamaican, right? So Jamaicans don't know what lawyers are. They are lawyers in Jamaica, let's be clear. But when you grow up, you're going to be a doctor or an engineer. That's the 2 things my mom said to me. And I was like, okay, I understand. So I was going to be a doctor. Dr. Benz was my nickname. Went to Morgan State University, studied biochemistry. Wow. I see you. I also took engineering classes because I wanted to give myself maximum optionality. And plus, education was free. I think that's the one thing we don't appreciate. I was like, I'm gonna need to take 18 credits. Some semesters I took 20. I was like, so you gonna give me these classes for no money? I will take them. And so I did. And so I took engineering physics, intro to engineering. I took all the chemistry engineering classes. I took biology classes, still with the intention of becoming a doctor. And actually met my wife in freshman honors biology. She ended up becoming a dentist with the same degree. So we studied all throughout college. I found my best friend. We didn't start dating until later, so sadly she knows about all the other people that I did. But it makes for a better relationship, you know what I mean? So that was fantastic. And Morgan loved it so much. I know y'all thinking it's perfect. Because there's no secrets in our closets. And that is the secret to a good marriage. And we're married almost 19 years now. We loved Morgan State so much, near and dear, we named our firstborn Morgan. Named her twin brother State. So it's funny you say that. That is my joke. So I appreciate you for that. had the Northwests and Blue Ivies of the world been a thing, I would have. But he became Max. So it's Morgan and Max, the M&M twins. Or also the one and done twins. I have no other kids. And very happy about that. Almost an empty nester, actually, at least until my son and daughter come down here to Spell House. So that's their plan. They're going to apply early admission to juniors right now in high school. But they're doing everything that they can to get here. I've had the pleasure of speaking at both schools, and they were just enamored by you all. They probably saw you all walking the yard and was like, I'm going to be like that. And I was like, that's what I'm talking about.
Well, you know, I can attest to being a Spell House sibling pair because my sister, Professor Holmes, back there.
Professor Holmes, put some respect on that name.
So if they want a tour of the innovation lab at Spelman, I'm signing her up to give them a personal tour.
Oh, that's fantastic. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. And then also, you know, with the work that we, Dr. Kenley and I do as a part of the 100 Black Men, the emerging, the collegiate, just seeing all the work and innovation that goes into these schools is just incredible. So,
For sure.
Yeah.
That's exciting.
Yeah, thank you.
But okay, we're at biochem right now. How do you transition to tech? How do you transition to law?
Yeah.
Because that's a big jump.
Yep. So I may have shared earlier on that I was an illegal immigrant. Y'all remember that? Yeah. That did not change when I graduated. I was still an illegal immigrant when I graduated. I had taken the MCATs and gotten into medical school. And I remember it was May 2003, not 23, when I graduated. And I got into the school I wanted to go to, New York Medical College. I wanted to go back home, take care of my little sister, take care of my mom, and be close by. And I didn't get a high enough score on the MCAT to get a scholarship. So they were like, well, you're in. So if you can come up with $63,000 by August, you can come to the school. And I said, if I can come up with $63,000 in 3 months, I'm doing something else right. And I'm not going to medical school. So that was really a dark moment for me. And I want you all to reflect on times in your lives or times that may happen. It's not all going to be perfect, but it will be okay. And I want to reinforce that. It will be okay. The degrees that you all are achieving now gives you a leg up in this world. And the people that will try to hold you back are just missing your ultimate peak. And when you look back and look down upon them, it will be a glorious time. So at the time, it wasn't great. I mean, you had set your whole life to becoming a doctor, and then you were right at the precipice, and ultimately the door was theoretically closed, right? Sure. But I dusted myself off. I had to figure something out. And the funny thing about this wonderful country, which I am a Jamaican citizen, but I am a proud American. There's nothing like this country for the land of opportunity and to change your trajectory. While you need a social security number to go to medical school, you do not need one to start a business. And that is when I formed my very first LLC. I now have 7, so we can get onto that later. But I formed an LLC and I started a tutoring company. So I started tutoring in math and science. And I also started teaching at a Christian academy, that paid my LLC. And so I was destined to then work. I was working through the immigration system. Basically, my parents were cheated by a lawyer who had lied to them about the application process and what they were doing. I didn't find out until I was working 2 weeks at Model Sporting Goods, a sneaker store. Finally, I could stop wearing Payless and maybe buy myself a pair of nice kicks, which is my addiction now. I now buy every sneaker I could not get as a child, so I apologize in advance.
We need to see that sneaker closet.
It's more than a closet. But, and my wife has accepted it, and I'll tell you why she did. Because when I proposed, I sold my entire collection to buy her engagement ring. Wow. And she was like, where did you get that money from? Because she didn't want me to get in the streets. And I was like, I sold my collection. And she then and there promised to buy me back every single pair.
It's beautiful.
Including the cool grays that I had sold at the time. The original cool grays, by the way. Yeah, it was real. But the story of, I worked on the application for immigration for my entire family. And I was able to get all of that work done. I won't bore you with the details. If anybody wants to be an immigration lawyer or your family is going through something, I'm happy to kind of be that sounding board for you. But effectively, once you become 18, there's a ladder system. You go to the bottom. Mm-hmm. When I became 18, I went to the bottom. So even though I had gone through college for 4 years, I was still at the bottom.
Right.
And the end of that story is I did not actually get my green card and then citizenship until I got married. So I had to prove to everybody I didn't marry my wife as a false Jamaican guy that just comes to America and marries a woman to get his citizenship.
Right.
After 19 years of marriage. That's clearly not the case. And of course, when we went through that story, we already had our twins. We had bought a house together. I was then, by that time, a lawyer. So no one asked that question. But it's the struggles you go through as an immigrant.
Sure.
But how I pivoted to the law is during this whole teaching and tutoring journey, a friend of mine was like, look, can you teach me to take the LSAT? And I was like, I don't know anything about the LSAT. Like, whatever that is its own thing. I can teach you on the MCATs. And he's like, look, you can teach anything, I promise. So I'm like, all right, don't hold me to it. We ordered 2 books off of eBay that were Kaplan books for the LSAT. We quickly learned that all the answers in those books were wrong. But that's okay. We worked it out together. And by the time he was ready to take the LSAT, he said, bro, you need to take this with me. He said, I don't know what it is, but you just have a knack for the logic and all the information that's in here. Just take it.
Sure.
So I take my little $500 credit card from college. Hope y'all don't fall into that 23% scam. I did, and I swiped it, took the LSAT, actually killed it, and got a full scholarship to Fordham University.
Wow.
I also got a full scholarship to The Ohio State University, where my wife was at dental school. And telling her I was not going to go there was a very difficult conversation.
Could only imagine.
But the reality is I wanted to practice law in New York. And she was in the Army, and she was not going to stay in Ohio. So it didn't, strategically make sense, even for both of us. She forgave me.
And it seemed like it worked out.
It did.
Okay.
It totally worked out.
All right.
It totally worked out.
So then you're in law school at this point. How did you get into IP law?
Yeah, that's a great question. So I had no clue about intellectual property. And by the way, intellectual property, for those who don't know, is property of the mind. Anything that the brain can conceive, we can protect. We protect that through patents, which is effectively covers innovations. Copyright, which is scripts, books, film, pictures, rap lyrics, music lyrics, songs, jingles, all that stuff. Trademarks, as you may know, the McDonald's Golden Arches. It also protects colors like the Louboutin Red Soles, Tiffany Blue, scents like Chanel No. 5, and jingles, like ba-da-ba-ba-ba, and you're like, I'm loving it.
Right.
So all of those are protected by trademarks. Trade secrets, which I do now, which is the Coca-Cola formula is the most famous trade secret of all time. If I knew what the recipe was, I wouldn't be here. Or actually, I would be here, but I think I'd be substantially more rich.
More shoes.
Yeah,
Right.
probably more shoes. And then, so that's intellectual property. I'm still trying to convince my aunt, who has now had me sell 3 properties for her. And I'm like, that is not what I do. But that's the plight of the only lawyer in your family.
Sure.
But I had not known about that. I think like many of us, certainly in our community, we hear of criminal lawyers and maybe family lawyers, right? And we learn to stay away from them. But I have learned that there are more lawyers under the sun that do anything and everything that you love. If you like a company, there are at least 1 to, in the case of Meta, 1,700 lawyers at the company that represent on all different things. And the question I always get asked is, how do you become a tech lawyer? Work for a tech company. That is it. There is no more complicated answer than that. Certainly you can do more things to get more specialized, but that's effectively how I learned about it, is when I went to interviews to work at different law firms after your first year, which is very common. So in law school, after your first year, they call it on-campus interviews, OCI. They interview you based on your resume and kind of how you've done in law school. It is not great. For anybody thinking about going to law school, the first year is the most important. Cut off all your friends, turn off all your socials, and treat it like a full-time job. I'm keeping it real, because that first year will define ultimately the rest of your career. Because if you get a job after your first summer interning at a law firm or a big corporation, they usually give you a job to come back. So you can kind of phone in the rest of law school. Don't, because you want your GPA to be high, but that first year is the most important. Thankfully, I did all right. And they saw my resume and they were like, you have a biochem degree. Have you thought about intellectual property? And I was like, yeah, sure. And I then tried to flub the application, the rest of the interview talking about intellectual property. Didn't get that job. because I didn't know nothing about it.
Sure.
But then I went back, studied, learned about IP, all the things I just kind of briefly shared with you. And so I was ready for my next interview. Ended up getting a job at a New York law firm working in Rockefeller Center. That's 30 Rock, where the tree is lit in New York. And I got a BlackBerry. Yeah, a BlackBerry. And it was the greatest day of my life. Blackberries were for adults. You know, I'm old, so I had a sidekick. You know, I don't know, you remember you flip the little thing and the screen turns around? I had one of those, and I thought I was cool. Always wanted like a BlackBerry, because at the time of being in New York, certainly Jay-Z had a BlackBerry, all the business people had BlackBerries, and I finally got one paid for by the firm. So that's how I pivoted, and I've been in IP ever since. I actually thought when I went to law school that I was going to still be a doctor. No, yeah.
You thought you were going to transition back.
I was all about them degrees. I am Jamaican. I may have mentioned that before, right? Jamaicans have a lot of jobs, right? Sure. If you haven't heard, and I can share more about my other jobs in a little bit, but the reality is I was like, all right, let me get my JD MBA. So I'll take both of those degrees. I'll knock them both down at the same time. Then I'm going to go and flip back and go to medical school. And then my now wife was like, what are you talking about? You get 7 degrees for what? What are you going to become? And I realized when I got into the law that I loved it. It was the culmination of the legal ramifications of technology. That's really what it's about. It's how you combine the two, understand how they meld together, and how you protect innovation in a way that's good for society, but also benefits your clients.
So was that first job a tech-related IP firm?
Yeah, so I work for a firm by the name of Fitzpatrick Chella. It's no longer in existence. It merged with another firm called Venable, but it was all intellectual property. That is all the firm did. And I got saddled at first with chemical inks and printers. I know way more about the fax machines and printers that you guys use to get your papers than I ever cared to. That was not cool. I mean, it was fine. I learned my craft. But this is something that I encourage each and every one of you to do. I probably got that role because I was black. Just being honest. I got what nobody wanted. You know what I mean? Like, oh, well, we need this done. Who should we give it to? Let's give it to the one black dude who just joined us, right? I did cut my teeth there, which is totally fine, but you have to make sure that you carve a path for yourself that is designed around what you love and what you're passionate about. And I'll happy to share a little bit more about my journey. But what I wanted to do is I wanted to do things that give me passion, that I'm excited about. And each and every one of you, I'm looking at how dripped out y'all are, things that your unique things that are very specifically you. Invest in those things and bring that authentic self to the room, because they can't do that. They don't know how. And so one of the opportunities I was able to do to kind of take advantage of that was our firm represented Nike. And even though growing up I didn't have them, I had read all the magazines, I'd studied up on them, I knew all the colorways, the nicknames, whose there were, and you got these partners who were like, oh, they got these new Paul Rodriguez's coming out. I was like, you mean Paul George? They were like, yeah, sure, good job. It's not hard, right, if you really know the brand. And for us, I think we know these things but are not brought into the room to make those decisions, which is why Steph Curry didn't sign with Nike. They spelled his name wrong. They called him Stephen, right? When Nike pitched Steph Curry, they called him Stephen Curry. And they actually had a Kevin Durant pitch deck where they had control find all the Kevin Durants, and they put Stephen Curry in there. And he was like, yeah, no, this is not the place for me.
Right.
Had they had one of us in the room, we would have known the boy's name is Stephen. Okay, I know it may look like Stephen to you, but it is not. His mama named him Stephen. I'm gonna call him Stephen. Right. So little things like that. So to get an opportunity with Nike, what I did is at law firms, they have these lists that come out every day. It's a conflict check. So if you have a new matter you're opening up with someone, it clears and everybody in the firm gets to see it. So I would see Nike show up and I did it with any client that I wanted to work for, by the way, not just Nike. I did it with any client. I saw it, Nike, the lawyer who was responsible, I would send them an email. Congrats on the new Nike matter. If you ever need any help, please let me know. I would love to help. I have a big, deep passion for them. No response. Anytime we'd go to an event that had that partner there, I would always reach out. Hey, nice to meet you. My name is Mike Benz. I sit in New York. If you ever need anything with Nike, please let me know. One day he actually called or emailed in this case, and it was no surprise, like 6 p.m. on Friday, right? His associate, I think, was sick, and he was like, I need somebody to do something, and I need it done by Monday morning. And I had my own stuff to do. I was already working all weekend, and I was like, but you know what? This is my shot. And if someone comes to you with a project on a new matter that you want to work on, something in your company, or that you think that this is it, this is my shot, take advantage of it. I did not sleep that weekend, but I delivered on time and flawless the memo related to Nike on Monday morning. It was on his desk printed and in his email. And from then on, he brought me on to do Nike work. And then I remember one time, well, I ended up leaving that firm, and guess what? I took Nike with me because they knew I knew their products better than them. And when they interviewed me at one point, they wanted me to join and come and take over one of their patent positions, design patent positions in Beaverton. I actually got to go to the Nike campus multiple times, shop at the store. I saw Kendrick Lamar at the store one time. And all the athletes that go across. Kendrick Lamar's story was funny because he was actually not wearing Nike at the time. He was signing a Reebok. And I looked at my wife, I said, that's Kendrick. And she was like, okay, what does that have to do? I mean, she knew who Kendrick was, but why was it a big deal that he was here? I was like, he signed a Reebok. And she was like, oh, you about to break the news? What you about to put on World Star? What is happening? And I was like, no, I can't do that. I'm a lawyer. But I wanted to. I text all my friends, don't tell nobody. Kendrick is at the Nike store. And then about a week later, they came out with the Kendrick Nike Cortez, or they announced him. But I wore a pair of sneakers to Nike's campus that even the people I work with didn't know where they came from. They're like, where'd you get those? Wouldn't you like to know? But if you're a real sneakerhead, you know, right? If you know, you know. And the pair I was wearing, if you're curious, I don't like to leave you. What pair was he wearing?
Right.
So Phil Knight, founder of Nike, had 3 sons. His eldest tragically passed away. And then his second son actually opened a animation studio, Leica Studios. So they made Kubo, Paranorman. They do claymation movies. Basically, Daddy bought them a studio on the side of the Nike lot, and he makes movies every like 6 years because that's what he feels like doing. And every year they have a special edition pair of sneakers that come out with the movie. So the Paranorman foams, if you've ever seen them, they're black with glow in the dark. Those, they had Kubo and the 2 Strings, which is a special edition pair of Air Jordan 15s that was, they're black, but one is red and one is blue. And they were autographed by Tinker Hatfield, the designer of the Air Jordan 11 and several other sneakers. I had those on.
Wow.
And they were like, where'd you get those? Those are auction only. I was like, I bought them from the auction. But yeah.
It feels like a very intentional pair to wear.
It was very intentional because, you got to stunt on them. Let's keep it real, right? You got to flex when you get the opportunity because you may not get another one. And because we have to work twice as hard, we have to be twice as smart, and we have to really show up, I made sure, and by the way, I do that every time. When I was at the law firm, so my law firm trajectory, I represented several clients, UPS, Coca-Cola, Nike, as I mentioned, the Hershey Company, and the list goes on and on. Every time I show up at any of those companies, I dress the part. When I step into UPS, I'm wearing a suit with a UPS brown tie. I might as well have delivered trucks. I would have rented the UPS truck if I could have and pulled it up to the front. If I was able to. I wore red when I went to go to Coca-Cola.
Sure. When
I was at the office and they came to me, I got rid of all the Pepsi products, threw them in the trash, and made sure we used only Coca-Cola products. I am an iPhone lover, but I represented Google at one time. I would switch the SIM card out into a Google Pixel when I pulled up on campus because I was like, oh yeah, Android's my jam.
Right.
I didn't know how to use the phone, but that's not the point. You want to take, you want to take all the shots that are presented to you, and you want to put your best foot forward in every instance that you get those opportunities. So that's what I was able to do.
I'm hearing themes of like maximizing opportunities, being intentional.
Yes.
Can we talk a little bit about your role now at Meta, and what does your day-to-day look like?
Yeah, so great question. So I used to represent Facebook, then Facebook, and I represented them in litigation. So I did a number of litigations across the country related to patents, trademarks, trade secrets. I represented them in one case involving the Village People where they were fighting over who owned the Facebook page. Most people don't know this, but the Village People, YMCA,
right.
It's a trademark owned by 2 people, not by the band that you see. Just like the modern day boy band is all put together by business, big corporations, to sell, right? And the Village People was basically the first. So the old Village People were suing the new Village People over who could use the Village People Facebook page. So I represented Facebook. They tried to sue Facebook, like, you should give it to us. And I was like, case dismissed, we're not in this, y'all fight that out. But I represented them, and then during the pandemic, they had asked me to join. I had already sent some of my associates at the time to go work for them, and they were like, I need someone else. I was like, I have nobody else. You keep taking my people, which is great for their career. That is the way I always see it. I want you to rise, elevate, and excel. And so for me, I was like, okay, I'll do it. It's more money for my book of business, so let's go ahead and invest. Again, taking the opportunity, finding the time, and investing and being intentional. I took the role, helping them out, managing their Messenger portfolio, which included Facebook, anything you communicate on, right? Facebook, Instagram, Messenger, and WhatsApp. So I took over that strategic portfolio on the patent side, and then they asked me to come in and manage their Reality Labs division, and this is when I had a decision to make. Do I join or do I stay at the firm? And people ask me why I left the law firm to go and join Facebook. It's two main reasons. First is for my kids. They were just coming out. The pandemic was real. It was very clear we weren't staying home for 2 weeks to flatten the curve anymore. It was going to be more like a year, 2 years, whatever that time frame was. And I, as a partner at a law firm, it is a very rewarding, fulfilling career if you're able to do it. And I loved it. But I was also the managing partner of the Atlanta office. I was responsible for 54 attorneys here. I'd opened the DC office, which had over 30 attorneys and policymakers there. I had clients that I was responsible for. I did litigation across the country. Very grueling, very busy, and I missed a lot of birthdays, anniversaries, and events. And it was getting to a point where I had to realize, okay, I was not the poor Jamaican immigrant anymore, right? I had made strides significantly as for my family. I put both my parents separately into their own houses, and we were stable. And there's a point now where another dollar isn't going to give me back the time with my children. And I wasn't hitting like Mark Zuckerberg money, right? So I had to make a decision, and Meta Facebook gave me the opportunity to kind of do both. The second thing is, we talked about intentionality. I wanted to build my personal brand. Y'all don't want me here as a law firm partner. Just keeping it real. Ain't nothing wrong with that. Nobody knows law firm, and law firm. You just don't, right? You don't wake up and be like, oh man, I can't wait to go to Morgan & Morgan. Like, no one says that. Right. It's not a thing. And that's okay, because lawyers we're supposed to be supporting, not in the foreground. Mm-hmm. But at Meta, there were things that I had seen other people do that I wanted to invest in and build in personally. And so I took the opportunity based on those to join Meta. And then the one question everybody asked me is like, well, did you make more money going to Meta? And I was like, no, I took a pay cut, but I do make more money per hour, right? Again, it's the best way to kind of capitalize it. Per hour, I work less, but I profit more.
But then you're going to invest that time into your family.
That's exactly right. And into the other six LLCs I ended up forming thereafter. And so in my current role, I am now head of patents, as I talked about before. So that is the innovations that Meta creates across all of our family of apps, but also in Reality Labs. That includes our AI, our infrastructure, and our hardware products, our virtual reality products, and our augmented reality glasses. So these are our AR glasses, our Meta Ray-Ban displays. They have a screen right here, which I'm reading from. Nothing that I'm telling you it does have a teleprompter feature, and it is telling me everything that I should be saying. I'm just kidding. I can talk to y'all. And it's controlled by a neural band. So this band uses the impulses in your wrist. So gestures like swiping, scrolling, swiping left, swiping right, swiping up, and then pinching your fingers to turn the volume, reduce the volume, or pinching and writing a response to a text, all done through this.
Wow.
It's incredible technology. And so my team is responsible for all of the innovations across Meta and getting the patents filed so that we can make sure that we make the best product possible to get in your hands, and then stop people who would copycat and try to sell you a bootleg version from getting you and ripping you off. And so that is my job. The other component of that is trade secret protection. So trade secret, as I mentioned with reference to Coca-Cola, it relates to the confidential information that we just can't share, because if we did, you'd copy it, but it derives our economic value, right? So we make money on the most famous trade secret you all probably know at Meta, the algorithm. If I knew how to crack that, I'd have 1 million followers. But that is part of what we do. We advise the business on how to protect the innovations that come out of that technology. Wow. And I've been at Meta now almost 5 years.
It's amazing. I feel like I have 1,000 more questions for you. I know we had some student questions.
Yeah, of course.
But real quick, do you know how many patents were needed for the pair?
Great question. So this is the 3rd generation of this product line. So I'm not a walking ad here, but we've got our Ray-Ban Metas, smart glasses. Then that was the 2nd version. We actually had a pair called Ray-Ban Facebook Stories. They didn't have AI. And then we added the lenses, but this was an iteration of our big boy product that we launched last year, Orion, which has screens on both sides.
Wow.
But those are like $12,000 to manufacture, so they were demo only. So these are very reasonable, in my opinion, $800, and you can use your health insurance to get them. I don't wear glasses, but I love them. I mean, audio, cameras, AI, and now with the display, I can see my messages, respond to them without ever taking out my phone. And honestly, which is our goal at the company, our mission is to help you connect, right?
Sure.
And to me, I'm old school, so I like connecting in person, but I'm still able to connect with people and not miss kind of notifications there. Patents-wise, I would say there's probably about 300 we filed, covering the entire family. And that includes everything, designs. So design patent is how something looks. One of the most famous design patents you might have heard of is the Hermes Birkin, like the shape of the Birkin is design patent protected. Porsches are design protected. Coke bottle shape, trademark and design protected. So that's the difference between a utility, which is the idea of how something works.
Amazing. Well, I'm gonna pass it, because this is really for them.
Yeah.
Even though I probably have 10 more questions for you. I'll pass it to our first scholar. George, can you give your HBCU introduction, of course?
Please.
Hello, my name is Troy Boxon Jr. I'm a senior computer science major here at Morehouse College. And my question is for you. Hold on, I have it right here. You have multiple different board roles and community impact work. How do you balance the demands of a high-profile tech role with meaningful community involvement?
That's a great question. So thank you for the question, and thank you for your journey. You're a senior, so you should applaud that. I'm really excited. Looking forward to what's to come. Computer science is an incredible technology area. AI is not going to replace it. Let's keep it real. I think people are overblowing that, if I'm being quite candid. I think those who know how to use AI will replace those who don't. So it's like the person who didn't use the computer anymore. Bro, what are we doing?
Right.
So thank you so much for the question. For me, I am here in front of you. I'm at this company as the very first black head of patents and trade secret at any FANG company. It's never happened before.
Wow.
I appreciate that. It means a lot to me, more so because of the story. And that's the intentionality of the people who hired me. They knew that we are able to do the role, but we don't often come up, right? So I knew through that story, through how I was able to get my scholarship offers to both Morehouse and to Morgan, I knew that the people who invested in me, who helped me buy my books from semester to semester, all of that is because someone gave back. And for me, I want to leave this world better than I found it.
Right.
And if that means I only get 5 hours of sleep, so be it, which is why I work very proudly with Dr. Kinley on the 100 Black Men of Atlanta. I'm a proud board member of Page Turner's Make Great Learners here in Atlanta, which supports reading for Title I schools in APS. I also founded Adapt.legal, which is advancing diversity across patent teams, because I want people that look like me to end up in the role like me. And statistically, we're 13 to 14% of the population. We're only 5% of lawyers, but in IP, we're less than 2%.
Wow.
So I'm trying to change that statistic, which also includes my involvement on the Foundation Board for Intellectual Property as the vice chair, the National Council on Patent Practicum as an advisory board member, Georgia Wildlife Federation, because I think Georgia is one of the most beautiful states in the country, and we have to protect its wildlife and its green spaces. I'm a proud graduate of Leadership Georgia, focusing on economic development across the state. And the list goes on because I more than find the time. Now, you're probably gonna ask me like, well, what did you see on such and such a show? I'll be like, I didn't see it. And I'm okay with that, because if I can see each and every one of you shine, become CEOs, titans of industry, that is the show I wanna watch. That is the world I wanna be in. And I'll catch up on the other shows when I retire. So great question, I appreciate you asking.
Hi, I'm Melanie Jackson. I'm a junior computer science major at Spelman College. And my question is, how is Meta addressing sustainability and environmental protection when building and maintaining its data centers, especially in terms of reducing pollutants and minimizing health impacts on nearby communities?
Hey, okay, that's what I'm talking about. She came with the big gun questions. She said, just so you be clear, I need you to answer this. Now, that's a great question. Let's get everybody on the same page. Does everybody know what data centers do? Yes. So AI, of course, is here to stay. If anybody doesn't know that, then you need to understand that that is a big part of the future. Every Martin Luther King rap video you see requires a lot of compute power, okay? Every prompt you throw into ChatGPT, into Meta.ai, into Claude.
Gemini.
My bad. By the way, I cannot live without Gemini. Google Suite is my jam.
Appreciate that.
And now I can create PowerPoint presentations like a pro.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Each of those prompts and the response, no matter how silly or profound, require a ton of compute power. So each of these companies are building data centers, which used to be the servers of the world, in order to allow for the scale of artificial intelligence. Meta, of course, is a foundational model company. So is Google, so is OpenAI, so is Anthropic. Then there's, of course, applied AI, companies who use AI to build technology. Those companies also pull from foundational model companies to help build and develop their technology. I'm one of them. I have my own AI startup that I'm working on that is using technology to create and scale. So in order to do that, you need that compute power, which is why NVIDIA's stock price is going through the roof, because they provide the servers and the chips that go into these data centers. You all have probably heard of Meta's data center in Baton Rouge that they're building that is the size of Manhattan, right? So your question related to sustainability. So Meta puts out on its website, sustainability.atmeta.com. You can read all about our sustainability efforts, which is to make sure that we become, hopefully, zero energy and zero water consumption by 2030. And the company is working very hard at that. We're trying to also use sustainable materials to make sure that it creates sustainably, because the use of compute power is going to only increase, and we have to be more thoughtful about the way we do it. So I'm not involved in that. I'm just telling you what I know, and I'm grateful for that the company does, because, and your last question, I'd be remiss if I didn't answer it. What is it doing for the communities around it? Because those communities look like me. They provide a number of jobs and infrastructure for those communities: clean water, energy, and resourcing for the entire infrastructure, so that those communities can start to be, hopefully one day, to their betterment, look like Atlanta.
Thank you.
Of course.
Good evening. My name is Kenzie Moore, and I'm a second-year computer science scholar from Montgomery, Alabama, attending Spelman. And my question for you today is, for students like me in programs such as CodeHouse, what steps can we take now to build the technical and professional credibility that companies like Meta look for?
Great question. So one, you're already doing it. Okay. You're already here. So that's number one. You're supporting CodeHouse in the opposite direction. So they provided a space for you all to get together, get to know each other, and build knowledge and education. You've already differentiated yourself from the other thousands of people that walk this campus daily. That's number one. Number two, invest in yourself and your academics. I told you I took extra classes because they free 99. Tuition is tuition. Once you hit a certain amount, everything else is included. I know you're probably saying he didn't party. Yes, I did. But I was very vigilant in when I did and how I did, right? Because I realized that this beautiful life of ours is not promised, but it is also a marathon, not a sprint. And if I'm exhausted and I cannot take a test, I cannot do the things that I need to do to be able to get to where I need to go. And I've got very defined goals. I hope each and every one of you define your goals, both in terms of 1 year, 5 year, 10 year, and your long-term outcomes. And not just in terms I want to get money and I want to be successful. Why? What is it that drives you? What is it that motivates you? What is it that wants, for you to give back? And angle your life towards that. And so to make companies like Meta, Google, Apple, the FANG companies, startups, you also want to know your craft better than everybody else. You probably hear these stories of all these entrepreneurs and business leads and people who say, oh, I get up at 5 o'clock in the morning and I do this and I do that. You can do that, but it's about intentionality. It's not about 5 a.m. They always throw 5 a.m. out, like every CEO sleeps 2 hours and gets up and runs. That's not how it works. I know plenty of CEOs don't wake up until noon, but they work all night, right? It's whatever works best for you. Know yourself, but invest in knowing your craft, studying properly, getting your grades up, and then learning what's around you in your technology area. So for me, if you ever look through my algorithms, besides cars and shoes, and of course my sports teams that I follow, you're gonna see nothing but AI. You're gonna see all the things that are related to intellectual property. You're gonna see augmented reality. You're gonna see all the things that I am interested in on a deeper level, things that my company will not even know. I bring that to them. I say, did you hear that, this company just launched this or they did that? I also knew that with Nike, right? I told you my example about how I was able to wear a pair of sneakers that they had not heard of because they were not paying attention to the fact that the Sun owned this and there was an auction that was coming out. Those things may seem trivial, but if you really learn your craft and who you are, you can outmaneuver other people and continue to do that. Be curious. Be curious in the things that you like. Be curious in the things that you think your employers would like. Be curious in employers. Nowadays, you can use AI to search everything related to a particular employer. But I had Google alerts. Google alerts showed up every morning to tell me what happened with all these respective companies and their competitors. And just be knowledgeable. Spend your time, load up your algorithms with the things you want to do, and before you know it, you will impress someone with the things that you know that is very uniquely you. And I promise you, no one outside of this room can replicate each and every one of you. You just can't. So do what they need you to do, but also do what you do, and that combination will be deadly. You're welcome.
And I want to add in, and you said something so important for everyone to hear. The employees who are using AI right now are going to be taking the jobs of the people who are not, right? And I promise y'all, internally, working at two of the largest tech companies, everyone's still trying to figure it out together.
Everybody.
But one thing that I will say, especially at Google at least, it's actually being mandated, and we have to put into our OKRs or our goals for the year, how we're actually using AI to better our productivity for our jobs. Now, they have these trainings and all of this stuff, but there's no rhyme or reason, there's no format yet of what that means, but they do need, in a few weeks, my manager's gonna ask me, how did I use AI for my job, right? How does that translate to y'all? The roles that they're hiring for, they're looking for people with AI ML skill sets on every single role, no matter what you do. I know everyone here is technical in some way, shape, or form, but every role, it needs to be AI augmented, right? So the best way that you guys should be preparing right now is figuring out how it works for whatever field and career that you guys want, and make sure that it's on your resume so it translates over to the jobs that you guys want.
I think it's great to point out we're at the very beginning of this thing. I mean, we really are.
Right.
I mean, AI itself is a boomer, right? But what we're talking about is generative AI, the ability for AI to give you something in return as opposed to working in the background. It's front street now. You still have time to catch up. You learn what a data center does, know how you build a data center, know what weights are when an AI is weighing something. I'm not doing 6'7", sorry. Know what goes into training a model, right? Each of those things are important. And it's not expensive. Coursera gives you free courses on AI. I have 6 certifications from there, from Stanford, Penn State, Harvard. I think they were $29 each. They take time. You got to get the quiz and get them right. But I learned about the ethical imperative related to AI, how AI and business leads should be thinking about AI, and what are the underpinnings of AI. And I learned how to code my own bot, right? With just these courses. And I promise you, I am not smarter than you all. So it's just time. Right. When you decide you want to spend 2 hours doom scrolling on TikTok, you can do it, or you can go invest in yourself. And I promise you, you'll doom scrolling on TikTok is much nicer in the Grand Caymans than it is sitting in your dorm room. I promise.
I love that.
Yeah, just keeping it real. Just keeping it real.
Dante, go ahead.
Hi, my name is Dante Abney. I'm a dual degree robotics and physics major at Clarkland University. And my question is, how do you balance open sourcing technologies with protecting Meta's own IP?
Yeah, great question. So open sourcing with the ability to use or share code broadly with the world. As you may know, Meta's model, Llama, is a commercial open source model. I think it's important for us to enable others to build technology and innovation and find use cases for AI and other technologies. And I think many companies feel this, which is why if you're starting a company, you can use ChatGPT, you can use Meta's Llama to be the foundational model for that company. That's open sourcing. And I think that's very important. Our engineers use open source through GitHub and others to develop technology. We don't recreate the wheel, right? And I think that's the important factor. Why recreate the wheel when we can share the information and knowledge? And when you think about why intellectual property versus open source, well, it costs money to do this stuff. And so you all should be thinking strategically for yourselves, whether you're building your own company or you're working for another company, what is the secret sauce that's going to give you the advantage to be able to accelerate your career? So you may pull in from open source some of the base models or base technology that you want to use to develop your platform, but how you put that extra seasoning on it, that's proprietary. And you either want to protect that to a trade secret, just don't let anybody get to it, or copyright or trademark or patents. And I make that call, and I make my team make that call every day. There are other, for us too, we also just publish. Let the world know about it so people can't sue us for it because we've already shared it, but then the world as a whole can benefit. And so it's a balance between what's most important for the technology innovation space, and you should make that determination for you. And I would say, for anybody even here building a company, use open source models. It's smart, right? Use what the technology is best for you and keep the rest a little secret for you, because you have the opportunity to build something now than ever before. I truly believe we're in the next .com with AI. Some people call it a bubble, whatever, is opportunity. Mark Cuban said it best. He said, AI will allow a dude sitting in his mom's basement to become a billionaire. I truly believe that. So take advantage of the opportunity.
So if any of these students have a $1 billion idea,
yeah,
what advice do you have for them to protect themselves? What website do they go to?
Hit me up on LinkedIn.
Okay.
Lawyers are not cheap, but I will answer your question. It may not be right away, but I promise you I will answer your question. A few quick things. Trademarks, if you're coming up with a brand, a logo, a design. Trademarks, they cost money, but you don't need to file a trademark right away. Same thing for copyrights. They vest the moment you create them. Patents are a little more complicated. So if you've got an innovative invention, something that a product or something that you're getting ready to go to market with, be very careful because there are bars and restrictions. If after like 1 year, for example, you do not get a patent on it, you can lose it. And then that's it. It's a wrap. So that one's the most complicated one. That's also the most expensive. There are resources at the United States Patent and Trademark Office to help small inventors. They also have clinics. But if you're in doubt, just reach out. I'm happy to kind of put you in touch with lawyers or answer your question and steer you in the right direction. A little bit of free game. Happy to do it.
Love it. How many of y'all have added him on LinkedIn already? Oh, okay.
Okay.
Love to see
Appreciate y'all.
that.
Appreciate y'all. And by the way, how many people own intellectual property in here? Anybody? Okay. I'm asking another question, different way. How many people have ever created a PowerPoint slide? So you all own intellectual property. It's that simple. You create a copyrighted work that is yours, and if somebody else were to steal it, you could technically sue. So really think about, I know, don't get caught. But you really have to be strategic about your IP. I think Black and brown creators create some of the best IP in the innovation space. And so we just have to be cognizant of it. So that's part of my nonprofits, is educating the masses on that.
Amazing. I think we're almost out of time, right? But I want to ask one last question.
Sure.
We have some amazing talent in this room. That's very clear. What advice do you have for them? Think back to Morgan State, junior year, sophomore year. You're about to be going to medical school and all that.
Yep, I thought.
Right. What advice would you give yourself back then that you know now?
Kendrick Lamar is going to be all right. I honestly, I had no clue where I would be today. I think my life is a blessing. It continues to be a blessing each and every day. I get to experience and do things that I would never fathom as a kid. As I told y'all before, my story started with the roof blowing off my house and my bedroom being flooded, to being evicted from multiple homes and throwing trash bags and throwing our stuff in the trash bag and walking across Yonkers to try to go to my grandma's house because the sheriff locked up the house. There's low moments and there's high moments, but if you just continue to stay the course and you're true to yourself and you focus on the vision, then you can really achieve anything. I always tell this one story, and by the way, don't limit yourself. Set goals, set dreams, and make sure you mark on how to get to those goals and dreams with intentionality. And the reality is most people probably won't understand your dream, but they don't have to. It's not for them to understand. It's for you to understand. And I get it, he is Caucasian, but when Mark Zuckerberg called his dad, who is a dentist, and said, bro, I'm dropping out of Harvard to go build a Facebook, I'm sure his dad was like, bro, no, we not.
Right.
What are you talking about? I sent you to Harvard so you can come take over this dental practice. It's very lucrative for our family, until he sent that PJ. He's not the only one. I can tell you about a friend, if you've ever heard of Squire, if you've ever booked a haircut. It's a good friend of mine, Song. He was a lawyer, and he was like, this isn't for me, and that's okay. And he left, and now he founded Squire with his good friend who's in finance, Dave, and their company's worth $750 million. I mean, he lives his life the way he wants to live it, and we can all do that. These are not unknown stories. Tristan Walker, if you've never heard of him, Walker and Company, he created the bevel razor, and it went viral when Nas mentioned it in a song. Tristan moved from the Bay to here and to the A. He's been on the board of some incredible companies. I mean, he looks like us. We're in Atlanta, home of Sarah Blakely. She created Spanx, and ultimately she was selling fax machines door to door. I don't know if y'all ever seen a fax machine, but her industry was dying. But she came up with the idea for Spanx, and she went to the Georgia Tech library and was like, I'm gonna make a patent on this. And she ended up selling the company for, $1.2 billion, and flew her entire staff to Hawaii, right? So this is the land of opportunity, and you can really achieve something if you set a goal, set a dream, get your degree, invest heavily in where you are now, and invest heavily in your first job, your first role, your first startup, your first company, and work hard at it. Because that hard work plus the grind is, I can't tell you enough, is more innate in our people than any other. And I'll put everything I got on that. I really mean it. We just have to apply it. You have to apply it. Apply it to your dreams, apply it to your goals. I'm getting the lights, I gotta dip out. But please, stay that focused, and I promise each and every one of you, I will be significantly better than me.
That's amazing. I hope y'all are writing that down, because he's dropping gems right now. Let's clap it up for the second ever CodeHouse Conversation.